So we can listen to all of that in combination to make a much more interesting drum riser. Hi guys, SKETI here, welcome back to a new tutorial. This time we're going to look at how to make more interesting drum riser rolls before the drop in a lot of dance music tracks. So let's get to it. So yeah, this is a question I've been asked a few times on Twitch. How do you make interesting drum rolls like that pre-drop where it sort of like gets faster and faster and then the drop happens. So let's look at some different techniques that we can use. So first thing, I've just set up a very simple, what you hear in a lot of different tracks is this very simple, starts with quarter notes, then gets to eighth notes, then 16th notes, snare drum pattern. So yeah, very simple. It's been done millions of times now, so we can look at different ways of doing it. So the first thing that we can do is we can add a frequency shifter in Ableton Live. Obviously in different software it will be different ways of doing this. You could obviously do pitch shift as well, but I like to use the frequency shifter because it adds a certain tonality that I quite like. And what we do is if we just turn that on, and I've already automated on this here, where it starts at 0 Hz and goes all the way up to 500 Hz above the original fundamental note that it was at. So this is what it sounds like now. So that's one way you can do it. You can also take this a little bit further and change the setting to wide. So what happens as it sweeps up, it also sweeps down at the same time, but starts to do it over the stereo image. So one side goes high frequencies and one goes low frequencies. But the problem with that is it does get very wide. So I am going to have to add in another EQ8 just to sort of narrow down the stereo image. So I'm just going to set a mid-side EQ and bring this up to here, and then if we listen back to this now, you will hear some slight phasing, but if it's in the rest of the track then it shouldn't be too much of an issue. So that's another way of making a very simple roll that gets faster, a little bit more interesting. So the next thing we can do, if I turn these two off, is the which has also been used quite a lot, but the auto filter technique. So where we have one that sweeps up through the frequencies with a low pass filter, and then the other one with a high pass filter. But if we use these in conjunction with each other, so I'll just set up the high pass filter one first. So yeah, auto filter frequency. And then we just turn this down to, and what it's usually good to find out what the resonant fundamental tone is of the snare drum. So for this, it's sat at about, I just open this up. So it's sat at about 300 Hz. So that's where we should start this from. So yeah, or anything just above it. So that's cool at 377 Hz. And then the next one, which is the high pass filter, we can set that. Well, again, we can bring this up to about, yeah, just below the fundamental tone, and again this is going to get dragged up, and obviously this is to the choice of the track and what you want it to sound like. So what I'm finding here is the high pass filter is actually sweeping too fast, so I'm just going to use a curve on the the filter automation for that cutoff, so it keeps a lot more of the lower end in for longer and then sweeps up faster towards the end. There we go. And I think again that's getting a little bit too high at the end, so I'm going to have this stop at 3 kHz so we can just listen to this final part. Cool. So the next thing that we can do as well is we can actually start to change the rhythm of this, because at the moment it's a little bit simplistic and boring, and this is being used over and over again. Now this might still work in some tracks today, like house tracks especially, trance tracks as well. But what we can do is we can actually start to change this rhythm, but still keep that build-up sound to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this, and I'm also going to actually let's do it over 16th notes instead. So I'm going to move this to here, and then this to here, and then we're just going to duplicate that pattern. So let's see what it sounds like first. Yeah, so we're just going to copy that, and what I can do is I'm just going to copy it for all of that part there, like so. So we can listen to this now. And again, I'm just going to turn these autofills off now, so we can just hear what it sounds like by itself. And then what we're going to do as well is we're going to, so basically we're doing the doubling thing again, but instead of doubling the entire bar, we're just doubling every crotchet beat now. So if you can imagine, so this is, all of this gathers into one half note, and then we've doubled it in the bar, but now we're just going to double the first part, so it's every crotchet note, like so. If we listen to that now. And again, for this we could actually just keep that last bit as 16th notes, but one thing that we can do as well, just to give it a little bit more difference in sound and make it sound a little bit more interesting, is actually change the velocity of these notes here, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate these notes and get that one as well, and I'm just going to highlight all of these together. And we're just going to copy these a 16th note just before, and then turn them even quieter. So we can listen to it now. So again, it gives it a little bit more interest. And again, what I can do with this final part here is if I highlight all of the off 16th notes, so that's the E and the A. So if you've got one E and A, that's all of the E's and the A snare hits. Just a bit of drummer speak there, which I know to non-drummers that sounds strange when we say that. But again, we can turn these down really quiet, and then we can grab all of the off-beat notes. So that's all of the and beats of the 8th notes. So grab all of these, like so. And then again, turn them down. But as you can see here, I've got a nice little sort of velocity difference between all of the notes now. Again, we can listen to this. Now obviously the only issue with that is because I am at the moment using the drum rack, it's in one-shot mode at the moment, so every time the sample ends it just cuts it, so you get that weird sound. Now we could obviously change this to a different style. Let's see what classic looks like, or sounds like even. Yeah, so classic sounds a little bit better, but I'm just going to stick it as one shot at the moment. But again, if you've got like a live drum sample player, you can use that, and obviously that'll sound a little bit more realistic. And again, what I'm going to do in this beginning section here is I'm going to take these notes that I liked, and I'm also going to copy them here. Just so again, we've got some different notes basically, and I should just be able to duplicate that bar now. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. So now, instead of that original beat that we had, which was just quarter notes and 8th notes and 16th notes, we've got something a little bit different. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to combine all of the different techniques that I've applied. So first thing is turn that EQ8 on with the frequency shift that's set to wide mode, so one side goes high and then the other side goes low, but with the mid-side EQ brings that more central, and also with the auto filter, the low pass filter and the high pass filter. So we can listen to all of that in combination to make a much more interesting drum riser. And again, we can keep changing these to different tastes, obviously depending on the track and what we want it to sound like. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have, leave a comment. Any questions or suggestions for future videos, leave a comment as well. Drop a like, hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you see these videos more in the future. Share this around with your friends if you found it enjoyable and useful for other people to use in their music as well. Also, I stream on Twitch most weeknights, so that's Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday, and you can check me out on there, making music in Ableton Live, playing bass on stream, listen to other people's tunes that they send in for feedback, and just chatting with the people in stream as well. Lots of cool people in there and a really respectful community that's getting built. But anyway guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.
Everybody jump up, come on!